My son hugged me that night like he never had before. "Dad's not coming back," he whispered, but his eyes held a secret I couldn't understand. Something felt wrong. Very wrong. I'm Sarah Mitchell, a nurse at County General Hospital. I've been married for 15 years and have one son, Kyle, who just turned 14. I thought I knew my family. The strange hug. Jake had been gone for 3 days. He told me it was a business trip to Chicago, something about meeting new clients for his construction company. I didn't think much of it at first. Jake traveled sometimes, though not often. He always called me every night when he was away, and he always came home with small gifts for Kyle and me. But this time felt different. Friday night came, and I was sitting in bed reading a nursing journal when Kyle walked into my room. The hallway light behind him made his shadow long and strange on my bedroom wall. He stood in the doorway for a moment, just staring at me. His face looked pale, and his eyes seemed older somehow, like he'd seen something he shouldn't have. "Kyle, what's wrong, honey?" I asked, setting down my journal. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he walked slowly to my bed and sat down on the edge. His hands were shaking a little. I could see it even in the dim light from my bedside lamp. "Mom," he said quietly. His voice cracked like it did when he was trying not to cry. "What is it?" I reached out and touched his shoulder. "Did something happen at school?" Kyle shook his head. Then he did something he hadn't done in years. He leaned forward and hugged me. Not a quick hug, like usual, but a tight, desperate hug that made my heart skip. His arms wrapped around me so hard I could barely breathe. "Dad's not coming back," he whispered into my shoulder. I froze. Those words hung in the air like smoke. "What? What do you mean? Of course he's coming back. He'll be home Sunday." Kyle pulled away from me. His eyes were wet, but no tears fell. He looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Fear mixed with something else. Guilt, maybe? Or knowledge of something terrible? "Kyle, you're scaring me. What do you mean Dad's not coming back?" He stood up quickly, backing toward the door. I had a bad feeling, that's all." "A bad feeling about what? Did your dad call you? Did he say something?" "No, nothing like that." Kyle's voice was shaky. "I'm just tired. I'm going to bed." Before I could stop him, he turned and walked out of my room. I heard his bedroom door close down the hall. I sat there in my bed, my heart pounding hard in my chest. Something in Kyle's voice had made my stomach hurt. It wasn't just worry, it was certainty, like he knew something I didn't. I picked up my phone and called Jake. It rang once, then went to voicemail. I tried again, same thing. I sent him a text. "Call me. Kyle said something strange. I'm worried." The message showed as delivered, but no response came. I stared at my phone for 20 minutes, waiting for those 3 dots that meant he was typing. They never appeared. I tried to sleep, but I couldn't. I kept thinking about Kyle's face, his trembling hands, the way he hugged me like he was saying goodbye. Around 2 in the morning, I got up and walked to Kyle's room. I pressed my ear against his door. I could hear him moving around inside, not sleeping either. Something was very wrong. I just didn't know what yet. Jake won't answer. Morning came with gray clouds and a feeling of dread in my chest. I grabbed my phone before I even got out of bed. No messages from Jake, no missed calls. I called him again, straight to voicemail. I called again, voicemail, again, voicemail. By the time I'd called 20 times, my hands were shaking. This wasn't like Jake. He always answered. Even when he was in meetings, he'd send me a quick text saying, "Busy, call you later." But there was nothing. Complete silence. Kyle didn't come out of his room for breakfast. I knocked on his door, but he said he wasn't hungry. His voice sounded hollow through the wood. I went downstairs and made coffee I couldn't drink. My mind raced through possibilities. Maybe Jake's phone died. Maybe he lost his charger. Maybe the hotel had bad reception, but none of those explanations felt right. Not with Kyle's strange behavior last night. I opened my contacts and found Dave Morton, Jake's work partner. They'd been running the construction business together for 7 years. If anyone knew where Jake was, it would be Dave. I sent him a text. "Hi, Dave. Have you heard from Jake? I can't reach him." Dave replied within minutes. "Hey, Sarah. No, haven't talked to him since last week. He took the whole week off, said he needed personal time. Everything okay?" I read the message 3 times. The whole week off? Jake never told me he took time off. He specifically said this was a business trip to Chicago. Why would he lie to me? My hands felt cold. I typed back. He told me he was in Chicago for work. Meeting clients. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again, finally. Not sure about that. He cleared his schedule Monday. Didn't say why. Maybe it was a surprise for you? A surprise? Nothing about this felt like a surprise. This felt like a lie, a big one. I set my phone down and walked to Jake's home office. The door was closed like always. Inside, everything looked normal. His desk was neat, papers stacked in organized piles, pens in the holder I'd given him last Christmas. But then I saw it, his laptop sitting on the desk, plugged into the charger. Jake never left his laptop behind. He took it everywhere, even on short trips to the hardware store. That laptop had all his work files, all his client information, everything he needed to run the business. Why would he leave for a week without it? I opened the laptop. It was password protected. I tried his birthday. Wrong. I tried Kyle's birthday. Wrong. I tried our anniversary. The screen unlocked. My heart pounded as I looked through his recent files. Spreadsheets, project plans, emails about lumber orders and permit applications. Nothing unusual. Nothing that explained why he'd lied to me about this trip. I checked his browser history. It had been cleared, completely empty. Jake never cleared his browser history. He barely knew how. Someone had erased it. Either Jake before he left or someone else after. I closed the laptop and sat in his office chair, trying to breathe normally. My husband had lied to me. He'd taken a week off work without telling me. He'd left his laptop behind, and now he wouldn't answer his phone. And Kyle somehow knew. Kyle knew Dad wasn't coming back. I needed answers, but I didn't know where to find them. Kyle's bedroom secret. By Sunday afternoon, I couldn't take it anymore. Kyle had stayed in his room all weekend, only coming out for bathroom breaks and to grab food he'd take back upstairs. Every time I tried to talk to him, he'd say he was fine, just tired. But I knew my son. This wasn't tired. This was terrified. I stood outside his door for a full minute before knocking. Kyle, can I come in? Silence. Then, I guess. I opened the door slowly. Kyle was sitting on his bed, his back against the wall, his knees pulled up to his chest. His face was red and puffy. He'd been crying. Papers were spread all over his bed. Printed documents with numbers and addresses written in pen. I recognized Jake's handwriting on some of them. Kyle, what is all this? I asked, stepping closer. His eyes went wide. He scrambled to gather the papers, shoving them under his pillow and blanket. Nothing, just homework. That's not homework. I saw your dad's handwriting. Mom, please, just leave it alone. His voice cracked, and fresh tears spilled down his cheeks. I sat on the edge of his bed, my heart breaking at the sight of him. Baby, you need to tell me what's going on. Where did you get those papers? What do they say? I can't tell you. Kyle wiped his eyes with his sleeve. I promised. Promised who? Your dad? He shook his head. No, myself. I promised myself I wouldn't say anything because it would make everything worse. Kyle, your father is missing. He won't answer his phone. He lied to me about this trip. Whatever you know, I need you to tell me, please. Kyle's face twisted with pain. I had a bad dream last night, he said quietly. About Dad dying. It felt so real, Mom, like it already happened. A chill ran through me. Don't say that. Don't even think that. But what if it's true? Kyle's voice rose. What if something bad happened to him and I could have stopped it? I grabbed his shoulders gently. What do you mean you could have stopped it? Kyle, what did you see? He shook his head hard, pulling away from me. I didn't see anything. I told you, it was just a dream, but I knew he was lying. I could see it in every tense muscle of his body, in the way his eyes wouldn't meet mine. And then I noticed something else. His sneakers on the floor next to his bed were covered in dried mud. Dark, thick mud caked on the sides and bottom. Kyle, why do your shoes have mud on them? He glanced at his shoes, then back at me. I went for a walk yesterday. It hasn't rained in 2 weeks. Where did you walk that had mud? Just around. I don't remember. I stood up, my mind racing. Kyle was hiding something big. Something that scared him so much he couldn't even tell me. Those papers on his bed, the mud on his shoes, his certainty that Jake wasn't coming back, it all connected somehow. I'm going to find out what's happening, I said firmly. With or without your help. Kyle looked up at me with those frightened eyes. Mom, please, just let it go. You don't want to know. Trust me. But I couldn't let it go. Not when my husband was missing and my son was falling apart. My father-in-law calls Sunday morning came too early. I'd barely slept, lying awake all night thinking about Jake, about Kyle, about those papers and that mud. When my phone rang at 7 a.m., I grabbed it without looking at the screen, hoping desperately it was Jake. Hello? Where is he? The voice was sharp and angry. Jake's father, Richard. I sat up in bed, my heart already pounding. Richard, where is who? Don't play games with me, Sarah. Where's my son? What did you two do? I don't know where Jake is. I've been trying to reach him for days. He's not answering. Bullshit! Richard's voice was cold, accusatory. He cleaned out the business account, took over $200,000 Friday morning. You expect me to believe you don't know anything about that? The room spun. $200,000? What? No, Jake wouldn't. The bank confirmed it. Electronic transfer to an offshore account. He planned this, Sarah, and I know you helped him. I didn't help him do anything. I don't know what you're talking about. My voice was shaking now, panic rising in my throat. Jake told me he was going to Chicago for work. That's all I know. He stole from his own family, from the company his grandfather built. And when I find him, I'm pressing charges. Both of you can go to prison for all I care. Richard, please listen to me. I had no idea about any of this. Jake lied to me too. I can't reach him. His phone goes straight to voicemail. I'm scared something happened to him. Something happened to him? Richard laughed bitterly. The only thing that happened is he showed his true colors. He's a thief. Always knew he didn't have the backbone to run a real business. Now he's running away like a coward. That doesn't sound like Jake. Something else is going on here. You're either in on it, or you're too stupid to see what your husband really is. Either way, I want my money back. You tell Jake if I don't get it back by the end of the week, I'm calling the police. And I'm coming after everything you own, too. Richard, wait. The line went dead. He'd hung up on me. I sat there holding my phone, my whole body shaking. Jake stole money? $200,000? That couldn't be right. Jake was honest, almost to a fault. He always paid his bills on time, always declared every penny on our taxes, always said cheating or stealing was for people with no integrity. But the evidence was piling up. The lies about Chicago, the laptop left behind. The week off work he never mentioned. And now money missing from the family business. I thought about Kyle's papers, his mud-covered shoes, his terrified face when I asked questions. My son knew something bad enough that he couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, could barely function. And now Jake's own father thought I was part of some kind of theft scheme. I got out of bed and went to Kyle's room. He was already awake, sitting at his desk, staring at nothing. Kyle, I just talked to your grandfather. He says your dad took money from the business. A lot of money. Kyle's face went even paler. He didn't look surprised. He looked sick. You knew about this, I said quietly. Didn't you? Kyle's hands gripped the edge of his desk. Mom, I can't talk about it. You have to. This is serious. Your grandfather thinks I helped Dad steal. He's threatening to call the police. Good, Kyle whispered. I froze. What? Maybe the police should know? Maybe that's the only way? Kyle turned to look at me, and his eyes were full of tears again. But I'm scared, Mom. I'm so scared of what happens when the truth comes out. Before I could respond, before I could demand he tell me everything, my doorbell rang downstairs. Kyle and I looked at each other. Neither of us moved for a moment. The doorbell rang again, longer this time. I went downstairs and opened the front door. 2 police officers stood on my porch, their faces serious and professional. Mrs. Mitchell, the taller one asked. Yes? I'm Officer Chen, and this is Officer Rodriguez. We need to ask you some questions about your husband. Jake Mitchell, the police at my door. My mouth went dry. I nodded and stepped back to let them inside. Officer Chen was tall with kind eyes, while Officer Rodriguez was shorter and stockier, his expression harder to read. They walked into my living room, and I heard Kyle's footsteps on the stairs above us. He was listening. When did you last see your husband, Mrs. Mitchell? Officer Chen asked, pulling out a small notepad. Wednesday morning, before he left for what he said was a business trip to Chicago. Did he say when he'd be back? Sunday, today. But he never came home and he won't answer his phone. Officer Rodriguez was looking around the room, studying the family photos on the mantel. Has your husband ever disappeared like this before? Never. Jake always tells me where he is. He calls every day when he travels. Officer Chen exchanged a glance with his partner. Mrs. Mitchell, I need to tell you something. Jake's car was found early this morning, abandoned near the river, about 30 miles from here. The floor seemed to tilt under me. What? The river? Is he? Did you find? We didn't find your husband, just his car. The doors were unlocked, keys in the ignition, engine running. His wallet was on the front seat with all his credit cards and ID inside. I couldn't breathe. My vision blurred around the edges. This couldn't be real. This had to be some kind of nightmare. His phone was in the car too, Officer Rodriguez added. Turned off, no signs of a struggle in or around the vehicle. What does that mean? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Where is he? That's what we're trying to determine, Officer Chen said gently. We're treating this as a missing persons case for now, but we need to understand the circumstances. Did your husband have any reason to disappear? Any problems at work or in your marriage? No, everything was fine. We were fine. But even as I said it, I knew it was a lie. Everything wasn't fine. Jake had stolen money. He'd lied about his trip. He'd left his laptop behind and cleaned out his browser history. Mrs. Mitchell, we spoke with Jake's father this morning. He mentioned that money was missing from their business account. Did you know about that? I just found out an hour ago when Richard called me. I had no idea Jake took any money. Officer Rodriguez's eyes narrowed slightly. Your father-in-law suggested you might be involved. I'm not involved in anything. I'm a nurse. I work at County General Hospital. I go to work, I come home, I take care of my son. That's my life. Officer Chen made notes in his pad. Does your husband have any enemies? Anyone who might want to hurt him? I started to say no, then hesitated. The truth was, I didn't really know anymore. A week ago, I would have said Jake was an open book. Now I was learning he had secrets I never suspected. I don't know, I admitted. I thought I knew everything about my husband, but apparently I was wrong. Movement caught my eye. I looked up at the staircase and saw Kyle standing there, halfway down, his face blank and pale. He was staring at the police officers like he was seeing ghosts. Officer Chen noticed him too. You must be Kyle. Can we ask you a few questions? Kyle didn't move. He just stood there, frozen. When did you last see your father? Officer Rodriguez asked. Kyle's mouth opened, then closed. His eyes darted to me, then back to the officers. Wednesday morning, same as Mom. Have you heard from him since then? Any texts or calls? No. Do you have any idea where he might have gone? Kyle's hands gripped the stair railing so hard his knuckles turned white. No. But I could see it in his face. He was lying. Kyle knew something about where Jake had gone, about what happened to him, and these officers could see it too. Officer Rodriguez's eyes sharpened as he watched my son. Kyle, if you know something, you need to tell us, Officer Chen said. Your father could be in danger. I don't know anything, Kyle said quickly, too quickly. I have to go do homework. He turned and ran back up the stairs. I heard his door slam. Officer Chen looked at me. Mrs. Mitchell, is your son okay? He seems very upset. He's scared, we both are. The officers asked me more questions about Jake's habits, his friends, his schedule. I answered as best I could, but my mind was on Kyle, on his terrified face, on those papers covered with numbers and addresses, on the mud on his shoes. When the officers finally left, they gave me their cards and told me to call if I remembered anything or if Jake contacted me. They said they'd be in touch. I closed the door and leaned against it, my legs shaking. Jake's car found by the river, his wallet and phone left behind. Everything pointed to something terrible, something final. But Kyle said Dad wasn't coming back before any of this happened. How did he know? I had to make my son tell me the truth. Whatever it cost, whatever it meant, I needed to know what Kyle knew, what Kyle knows. I stood outside Kyle's door for several minutes, trying to calm my racing heart. When I finally knocked, he didn't answer. I opened the door anyway. Kyle was sitting on his bed, his head in his hands. When he looked up at me, his face was streaked with tears. Mom, I'm sorry, he sobbed. I'm so sorry. I didn't know what to do. I rushed to him and sat beside him, pulling him into my arms. Tell me everything, right now. No more secrets. Kyle cried against my shoulder for a moment, then pulled back and wiped his eyes. His whole body was trembling. Wednesday night, he began, his voice shaking. Dad told you he was leaving Thursday morning, remember? I nodded. For the Chicago trip. But he actually left Wednesday night, after you went to bed. I heard him go downstairs around 11. I thought maybe he couldn't sleep, but then I heard the front door close. I looked out my window and saw him getting in his car. My stomach tightened. Why didn't you tell me? I should have, but I was curious. Dad looked different, nervous, scared even, so I grabbed my bike and followed him. Kyle, that was dangerous. You can't. I know, Mom. But I had to see where he was going. He drove to the old warehouse district on the east side. You know, where they used to make car parts before the factory closed. I knew the area. It was abandoned, dangerous. No one went there except homeless people and drug dealers. What was your father doing there? He parked in the back and went inside one of the warehouses. I left my bike and followed on foot. The door was open a crack, so I snuck up and looked inside. Kyle's hands were shaking as he continued. Dad was meeting someone, a man. They were arguing about money and family secrets. I couldn't hear everything, but the man was angry. Really angry. He kept saying Dad owed him, that they had a deal. What man? Did you recognize him? Kyle nodded slowly, his eyes filling with fresh tears. It was Uncle Marcus. The world stopped. Marcus? My brother, Marcus? Yes, they were yelling at each other. Uncle Marcus said Dad was trying to back out of something. Dad said he wanted nothing to do with it anymore, that it was wrong. Uncle Marcus grabbed Dad's shirt and pushed him against a wall. He said if Dad didn't follow through, he'd destroy our whole family. He said he'd make sure Dad went to prison and that we'd lose everything. I felt sick. Marcus? My own brother? This couldn't be right. Marcus was a financial advisor. He helped people plan their retirement. He'd never been involved in anything criminal or violent. What else did you hear? I asked quietly. Dad said he was going to the police. That he didn't care what happened to him anymore. He just wanted out. Uncle Marcus laughed and said no one would believe Dad over him. That Dad was the one with his name on all the paperwork. That Dad would be the only one caught. Paperwork for what? I don't know. They didn't say exactly, but it had something to do with Grandpa Richard's company. Uncle Marcus kept saying they'd already taken enough, that they just needed to finish the job and split the money. The stolen $200,000. Jake hadn't taken it for himself. He'd taken it with Marcus. Or maybe Marcus had forced Jake to take it. Kyle, what happened after that? Kyle's face crumpled. I got scared. Uncle Marcus sounded crazy, like he might hurt Dad right there. I ran back to my bike and came home. I thought about waking you up, but I didn't know what to say. I didn't have any proof, just what I heard, and I was afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid that if I told you, Uncle Marcus might hurt us too. Hurt you. I've never seen anyone so angry, Mom. He looked like he wanted to kill Dad. I pulled Kyle close again, my mind spinning. Marcus, my own brother. The brother who'd helped me pay for nursing school. The brother who came to every one of Kyle's birthday parties. The brother I'd trusted my whole life. He'd been using Jake, forcing Jake to steal from Richard's company. And when Jake tried to get out, Marcus had threatened him. Mom, Kyle whispered, do you think Uncle Marcus did something to Dad? Is that why his car was by the river? I didn't want to believe it. I couldn't let myself believe it, but everything pointed to that horrible conclusion. I don't know, baby, but we're going to find out, and we're going to make sure your dad gets justice. Even as I said it, I wasn't sure if Jake was still alive to get justice. But I knew one thing for certain. Marcus had answers, and I was going to get them from him. My brother shows up. I didn't have to wait long. Tuesday night, 2 days after the police came to my door, there was a knock. When I opened it, Marcus stood there, looking nervous and jumpy. His normally neat hair was messy, and he kept glancing over his shoulder at the street. Hey, Sarah, can I come in? I wanted to slam the door in his face. I wanted to scream at him, tell him I knew what he'd done, but I forced myself to stay calm. If Marcus suspected I knew anything, he might run, or worse. Sure, I said, stepping aside. Marcus walked into my living room, his hands in his pockets, his eyes darting around like he was searching for something. How are you holding up? I heard about Jake. How did you hear? Richard called me, told me about the missing money and Jake's car being found. I'm so sorry, Sarah. This must be terrible for you. He sounded concerned. He sounded like my caring older brother. But I knew the truth now. I knew he was a liar and probably worse. It is terrible, I said, keeping my voice steady. The police think Jake ran away. Richard thinks Jake stole from the company and is hiding somewhere. Marcus nodded, his phone buzzing in his pocket. He pulled it out, glanced at the screen, then quickly put it back. What do you think happened? I don't know. Nothing makes sense. Jake wouldn't steal. He wouldn't abandon Kyle and me. People do strange things when they're desperate, Marcus said. Maybe Jake had debts you didn't know about. Maybe he was in trouble. The way he said it made my skin crawl. He was planting ideas in my head, trying to make me believe Jake was guilty of something. Has Jake contacted you? Marcus asked, his eyes searching my face. No, why would he contact me? You're his wife. I thought maybe, I don't know, maybe he'd reach out to let you know he's okay. Marcus's phone buzzed again. This time he didn't check it, but his jaw tightened. Whoever was texting him was making him anxious. Marcus, why are you really here? I asked. He blinked, looking surprised. What do you mean? I'm here to check on you. You're my sister. I'm worried about you. Are you worried about me or worried about something else? His expression hardened slightly. What's that supposed to mean? You said Jake might owe people money. Did he owe you money? Marcus hesitated for just a second too long. Yeah, actually. He borrowed $50,000 from me about 6 months ago. Said he needed it for the business. I've been trying to get it back, but Jake kept making excuses. $50,000. Another lie. That's a lot of money, Marcus. Why didn't you tell me Jake borrowed from you? He asked me not to. Said you'd be upset. He was embarrassed about it. I watched my brother's face carefully. He was good at lying. All these years, he'd been lying to me and I never suspected. When did you last see Jake? About 2 weeks ago, we met for coffee. I asked him again about the money. What did he say? He said he'd pay me back soon, that he was working on something big. More lies. Kyle had heard them together Wednesday night, but Marcus was pretending it had been weeks ago. He was covering his tracks, making sure his story was clean. I'm really worried about him, Marcus continued. If you hear from Jake, you'll let me know, right? I just want to make sure he's safe. What Marcus really wanted was to know if Jake had told me anything. He wanted to know how much danger he was in. Of course, I lied back. You'll be the first person I call. Marcus nodded, but he didn't look relieved. He looked more nervous than when he'd arrived. His phone buzzed a third time, and this time he pulled it out and read the message. His face went pale. I have to go, he said quickly. Work emergency, but call me if you need anything, okay? He practically ran to the door. I watched him get in his car and speed away down the street. I locked the door and leaned against it, my heart pounding. Marcus was lying about everything. He'd been lying for months, maybe longer. He and Jake had been stealing from Richard's company together, but Jake wanted out. And Marcus had threatened him. Now Jake was missing, his car abandoned by the river, and Marcus was showing up at my house asking if Jake had contacted me. My brother. The person I'd trusted my whole life. He was the reason my husband was gone. I went upstairs to check on Kyle. He was at his desk, doing homework, but he looked up when I came in. Uncle Marcus was here, I said quietly. Kyle's eyes widened. What did he want? To find out if your dad contacted me, to make sure I don't know anything. Did you tell him? No, but Kyle, I need to ask you something. Do you still have those papers? The ones you hid under your pillow? Kyle reached under his mattress and pulled out a folder. Inside were bank statements, transfer receipts, and handwritten notes, all in Jake's writing. Numbers, dates, account numbers. Where did you get these? From Dad's car. That night I followed him. After he drove away from the warehouse, I went to his car. It was unlocked. These were in the glove box. I took them because I thought they might be important. I looked through the papers. They showed transfers from Richard's company account to other accounts. Dozens of transfers over 6 months, each one between $10,000 and $30,000. And next to each transfer, Marcus's name was written in Jake's handwriting. Marcus had been stealing from his own father-in-law's company, and he'd made Jake do it. Jake had kept records, probably as insurance, as proof that Marcus was behind it all. Kyle, these papers could prove what Marcus did. We need to show them to the police. But what if they think Dad was the one stealing? What if they arrest him? Your dad kept these records for a reason. He knew he'd need proof that Marcus forced him into this. We're going to use them to find out what really happened. Kyle nodded, but his face was still scared. Mom, what if Uncle Marcus hurt Dad? What if Dad's... Don't think that way. Not yet. We're going to find the truth, I promise you. But in my heart, I was terrified. Jake's car by the river. The wallet and phone left behind. Marcus's threats in that warehouse. It all pointed to one terrible conclusion. My brother had done something unforgivable, and I was going to make sure he paid for it. The truth about Marcus. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about those papers, about Marcus's nervous behavior, about Jake's car by the river. Around 2 in the morning, I got out of bed and went back to Jake's office. There had to be more evidence somewhere, more proof of what Marcus had done. I opened Jake's desk drawers, one by one, searching through files and folders, business invoices, tax documents, receipts, nothing that helped. Then I remembered something. Jake had an old phone, a backup he kept in his desk drawer for emergencies. I found it in the bottom drawer, still charged. I turned it on, and my hands shook as I scrolled through it. The phone was from about a year ago, before Jake got his newer model. But he'd kept it, and now I understood why. Text messages. Hundreds of them, between Jake and Marcus going back 18 months. I started reading, and my stomach turned. Marcus. Richard's distracted with the new contract. Now's the time. Jake. I don't know about this. He's your father-in-law. My father. Marcus. He's got millions. He'll never miss what we take, and you need this money for Kyle's college fund, remember? Jake. I need to think about it. Marcus. Too late. I already set it up. You're the accountant. You're the one with access. Just do the transfers like I showed you. The messages went on for months. Marcus pressuring Jake, Jake resisting but eventually giving in. Then the tone changed about 4 months ago. Jake. This is wrong. We have to stop. Marcus. Stop. We're just getting started. Another few months and we'll both be set. Jake. Richard's getting suspicious. He asked me about some discrepancies in the books. Marcus. Then fix them. That's your job. Jake. I can't keep lying to him. He's my father. Marcus. You don't have a choice. You're in this as deep as I am. If I go down, you go down. Remember that. The last messages were from 3 weeks ago, right before Jake's trip. Jake. I'm done. I'm telling Richard everything. I'm going to the police. Marcus. You do that, and I'll make sure Sarah and Kyle suffer. I'll make sure everyone knows what you did. You'll lose everything. Jake. You can't threaten me anymore. I have records. Proof that you forced me into this. Marcus. Meet me Wednesday night, warehouse on East Mill Street. We'll talk this out. Jake. Fine, but this ends Wednesday. One way or another, that was the last message. The night Kyle followed Jake. The night Jake and Marcus met at the warehouse. I sat in Jake's chair, tears streaming down my face. Marcus had been manipulating Jake for over a year. He'd used Jake's love for Kyle, his worry about college expenses, to pull him into this scheme. Then when Jake tried to get out, Marcus had threatened our whole family. I heard footsteps behind me. Kyle stood in the doorway, his eyes red from lack of sleep. You found something, he said quietly. I nodded. Text messages between your dad and Uncle Marcus. Your dad was trying to stop it. He wanted to go to the police. Kyle walked over and looked at the phone screen. His face hardened as he read the messages. Uncle Marcus threatened us. He threatened you and me to keep Dad quiet. Yes, your dad was trying to protect us. That's why he agreed to meet Marcus that night. Kyle pulled his own phone from his pajama pocket. His hands were shaking. Mom, I need to show you something. I should have shown you before, but I was too scared. What is it? That night at the warehouse, I didn't just listen, I recorded it. My heart stopped. You recorded them? Kyle nodded, his face pale. I was hiding behind some old crates. I had my phone out to use the flashlight, and I thought maybe I should record it, in case something bad happened, in case Dad needed proof later. Kyle, do you still have the recording? Yes. I've been too scared to listen to it again, but I think you need to hear it. We sat together on Jake's office couch. Kyle pulled up his voice recording app and found the file. It was 32 minutes long, recorded Wednesday night at 11 p.m. He hit play. At first, there was just shuffling noise and Kyle's heavy breathing, then voices in the distance, growing clearer as Kyle must have moved closer. Told you I'm done, Jake's voice, stressed and angry. I'm not doing this anymore, Marcus. You don't get to be done. We had an agreement. An agreement you forced on me, you manipulated me, you used my own son against me. I gave you an opportunity. You needed money and I showed you how to get it. You showed me how to steal from my own father, Jake's voice cracked. Do you have any idea what this has done to me? I can't sleep. I can't look Richard in the eye. I can't even face my own wife without feeling like a criminal. That's because you are a criminal. Jake, just like me. We're in this together. No, you're the criminal. I'm the fool who listened to you." There was silence for a moment. Then Marcus spoke again, his voice lower and more dangerous. "You're not going to the police. You're not telling Richard. You're going to keep your mouth shut and finish what we started." "Or what? You'll hurt Sarah and Kyle? You think I'm going to let you threaten my family?" "I don't have to hurt them. I just have to destroy you. I'll make sure every piece of evidence points to you. I'll make sure you go to prison for 20 years. And while you're rotting in a cell, I'll be there for Sarah and Kyle. I'll be the good uncle helping them through the hard times. Maybe I'll even help Sarah pay the bills. Keep her company." The threat in Marcus's voice was clear, disgusting. My stomach churned. "You're sick," Jake said. "You're my wife's brother. And you're threatening to— I'm threatening to do whatever it takes. You made yourself vulnerable when you agreed to this. Now you're mine." "I have proof, Marcus. I kept records. Every transfer, every account, every conversation. I have text messages. I have emails. If anything happens to me, it all goes to the police." Marcus laughed. "You're bluffing. You wouldn't risk going to prison yourself." "Try me. I'm meeting with a lawyer tomorrow. I'm telling him everything. I'm going to make a deal with the prosecutors. I'll testify against you in exchange for reduced charges. You're going down, Marcus. And there's nothing you can do to stop me." The sound that came next made my blood run cold. A thud, a grunt of pain, scuffling. "You think you can threaten me?" Marcus's voice was barely controlled rage. "You think you can destroy my life? Get off me!" Jake's voice was strained, struggling. "Everything I've built, everything I've worked for. You're going to ruin it all because you grew a conscience?" More scuffling. Something crashed. Glass breaking. "Marcus, stop! You're insane!" "I'm practical. You're a liability. You always were." Jake's voice rose in panic. "What are you doing? Put that down!" "Say goodbye, Jake. You should have kept your mouth shut." Then there was a terrible sound. A heavy thud. A gasp. Silence. Kyle's young voice whispered on the recording, barely audible. "Oh my God, oh my God." More shuffling, then the sound of running feet, Kyle running away. The recording continued for another minute, just silence and distant traffic sounds. Before Kyle must have stopped it, I sat frozen, unable to move, unable to breathe. I just heard my brother attack my husband, maybe even kill him. Kyle was crying beside me, his whole body shaking. "I ran, Mom. I was too scared. I ran away and left Dad there. I should have called the police. I should have done something." I pulled him close, my own tears falling. "You were scared. You were a child alone in a dangerous place. You did what you had to do to survive." "But what if I could have saved him? What if Dad was still alive when I left?" "You couldn't have known. And if you'd stayed, Marcus might have hurt you too." Kyle sobbed into my shoulder. "Is Dad dead? Did Uncle Marcus kill him?" I wanted to say no. I wanted to tell him everything would be okay, but I couldn't lie to my son anymore. "I don't know, baby, but we're going to find out. And we're going to make sure Marcus pays for what he did." I looked at the phone in Kyle's hand. That recording was evidence, proof that Marcus had attacked Jake, proof of his threats, his manipulation, his violence. "We need to take this to the police," I said. "Right now." Kyle nodded. "Will they arrest Uncle Marcus?" If there's any justice in this world, yes. I stood up, ready to call Officer Chen, when my own phone rang. The number was blocked. My hand shook as I answered. "Hello?" Heavy breathing. Then a voice I knew too well. "Sarah." "Marcus. I know you have something that belongs to me. I'm coming to get it. And if you've already listened to it, then you know what I'm capable of. Don't do anything stupid." The line went dead. Kyle's eyes were huge with terror. "He knows about the recording." "How could he know?" "I don't know. But Mom, he's coming here. What do we do?" I grabbed Kyle's hand. "We leave. Right now. We go to the police station and we don't come back until Marcus is in custody." We ran upstairs. I threw clothes and necessities into a bag while Kyle did the same. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Marcus was coming. My own brother was coming to hurt us, maybe to kill us, just like he'd hurt Jake. We were halfway down the stairs when we heard it. A key in the front door lock. Marcus had a key. I'd given him one, years ago, for emergencies. The door opened. Marcus stepped inside, and when he saw us frozen on the stairs, his face twisted into something cold and unfamiliar. "Going somewhere?" he asked, closing the door behind him. Kyle's recording changes everything. I pushed Kyle behind me, standing between him and Marcus. My brother looked different than I'd ever seen him. His eyes were wild, his jaw clenched, his hands balled into fists. "Marcus, you need to leave, right now." "Where is it, Sarah? Where's the recording?" "I don't know what you're talking about." Marcus took a step forward. "Don't lie to me. Jake told me he gave Kyle something that night. Insurance, he called it. I've been looking for it ever since. When Kyle wouldn't come out of his room all week, when he looked so scared every time he saw me, I knew he had it." "You're insane," I said, my voice shaking. "Get out of my house." "This used to be my house too, remember? When we were kids? When Dad left Mom and she couldn't pay the mortgage? I paid for this house, Sarah. I've been paying your bills for years." "You used that against me. You made me feel like I owed you." "You do owe me," Marcus's voice rose. "Everything you have because of me, and Jake was going to destroy it all. Do you understand? He was going to send me to prison. Because you're a criminal. You stole from Richard. You forced Jake to help you." "I gave Jake a way out of his pathetic life. He was drowning in debt. Kyle's medical bills from when he was little, your student loans, the mortgage. You two were buried, and I helped. By making him steal. By making him take what he deserved. Richard has more money than he knows what to do with. He never appreciated Jake, never gave him the respect he earned. So we took it. We took what was ours." Kyle's voice came from behind me, small and scared. "Where's my dad?" Marcus's eyes shifted to Kyle. For just a moment, something like regret crossed his face. Then it hardened again. "Your dad made a choice, Kyle. A stupid choice. He chose his pride over his family." "What did you do to him?" I demanded. "That recording? Kyle heard everything. He heard you attack Jake." Marcus's face went pale, then red. "You listened to it?" "Yes. And we're taking it to the police." "No, you're not." Marcus pulled something from his jacket pocket. A gun. Small, black, terrifying. "You're going to give me that phone, and then we're all going to forget this ever happened." Kyle whimpered behind me. I couldn't breathe. My own brother was pointing a gun at us. "Marcus, please, think about what you're doing." "I've thought about nothing else for days. Do you know what it's like to have everything fall apart? I had a plan, a perfect plan. Jake and I would have been set for life, but he got cold feet, he got scared, and now look where we are." "Put the gun down. We can talk about this." "There's nothing to talk about. Give me the phone." "No." Kyle's voice was stronger than I expected. He stepped out from behind me, holding his phone up. "You want it? Come and get it." "Kyle, don't," I started. But Kyle ran. He ran down the stairs, past Marcus, toward the back door. Marcus spun around, chasing him. I screamed and ran after them both. Kyle was fast, but Marcus was faster. He caught Kyle in the kitchen, grabbing his arm. Kyle struggled, trying to break free. "Let him go!" I grabbed a frying pan from the stove and swung it at Marcus. It hit his shoulder, not hard enough to stop him, but enough to make him stumble. Kyle broke free and ran out the back door into the yard. Marcus raised the gun, pointing it toward where Kyle had disappeared into the darkness. "Stop!" I screamed. "Don't you dare!" Marcus turned to me, the gun shaking in his hand. "This is your fault. All of this. You and Jake were supposed to be grateful. You were supposed to keep your mouths shut." "Where is Jake?" I demanded. "What did you do to him?" Marcus's face crumpled. For just a second, he looked like my brother again, the one who helped me with homework, who came to my wedding, who held Kyle when he was born. "It was an accident," he whispered. "I didn't mean to. He came at me and I pushed him. He hit his head on a metal beam. There was so much blood, Sarah. So much blood." My legs almost gave out. "Jake, my Jake. Is he alive?" Marcus shook his head slowly. I panicked. I didn't know what to do. I moved him. I put him in his car and drove it to the river. I made it look like he ran away. "You killed him." The words came out flat, emotionless, because my brain couldn't process what he was telling me. "You killed my husband." "It was an accident. I never meant for it to happen, but then it did. And I had to protect myself. Don't you see? I had no choice." "You had a choice at every step. You chose to steal. You chose to manipulate Jake. You chose to threaten us. And you chose to kill him." I'm sorry, Sarah, I really am, but I can't go to prison. I won't survive it. He raised the gun again, this time pointing it directly at me. Marcus, please. The back door crashed open. Kyle stood there with his phone held high. The police are on the line. They heard everything. They're 2 minutes away. Marcus's face went white. He looked from Kyle to me to the gun in his hand. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. No, 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 no. Marcus backed toward the front door. This wasn't supposed to happen. None of this was supposed to happen. It's over, Marcus, I said quietly. Put the gun down. He looked at me with tears streaming down his face. I'm your brother. I love you. You know I love you. If you loved me, you never would have done any of this. The sirens were right outside now. Red and blue lights flashed through the windows. Marcus stood frozen, the gun hanging loosely in his hand. I'm sorry, he whispered one more time. Then the front door burst open. Police! Drop your weapon! Marcus dropped the gun. It clattered on the floor. Officers swarmed in, pushing Marcus to the ground, handcuffing him. He didn't resist. He just lay there, crying. Officer Chen came over to Kyle and me. Are you both okay? I nodded, unable to speak. Kyle pressed against my side, his phone still in his hand, the phone that had saved our lives. We have the recording, Kyle said, his voice shaking. Everything he did, everything he said, it's all on here. Officer Chen took the phone carefully. You're very brave, son. You did the right thing. As they led Marcus away, he looked back at me one last time. His eyes were empty, defeated. This wasn't my brother anymore. Maybe he never had been. Mom, Kyle whispered. Is Dad really... I held him tight, my own tears finally falling. Yes, baby, Dad's gone. We stood there in our destroyed house, holding each other, while the police worked around us. Everything I'd known was shattered. My husband was dead. My brother was a murderer. And my son had been carrying this horrible weight alone. But we were alive. And we had the truth, my brother's final lie. 5 days later, Marcus called me from jail. The officer told me I didn't have to take the call, but I needed to hear what he had to say. Kyle sat beside me as I answered on speakerphone. Sarah. Marcus's voice was hoarse, defeated. What do you want, Marcus? I need you to understand something. There's something I haven't told the police. Something about Jake. My heart clenched. What? Jake hid something before he died. Money. The $200,000 from Richard's account. He moved it somewhere safe, somewhere I couldn't find it. I need you to help me locate it. I looked at Kyle. His face was hard, older than his 14 years. He shook his head slowly. Why would I help you with anything? I asked. Because half that money should be yours. Jake took it for your family, for Kyle's future. Don't let it disappear just because of what happened between Jake and me. You mean because you murdered him? Marcus was silent for a moment. It was an accident, Sarah. You heard the recording. He came at me. That's not what Kyle's recording shows. The police had audio experts analyze it. They can hear Jake backing away, trying to de-escalate. They can hear you attacking him first. That's not true. I was defending myself. You're a liar. You've always been a liar. I just didn't see it before. Sarah, please, I'm your brother. We grew up together. Remember when Dad left? Remember how I took care of you and Mom? I've always protected you. You killed my husband! And I have to live with that every day. His voice cracked. Don't you think I hate myself? Don't you think I wish I could take it back? But you can't. Jake is dead, Kyle's father is dead, and you took him from us. I know, but there's still a chance to make something right. The money. Friday afternoon, Marcus's lawyer came to my house. He was a nervous man in an expensive suit who kept apologizing for bothering me. Mrs. Mitchell, I'm representing your brother Marcus. He's insisting there's something hidden in your house, something your husband left behind. He says he'll reveal where it is in exchange for a plea deal. There's nothing here, I said flatly. He seems very certain. He said your husband mentioned a safe place, somewhere personal to your family. Kyle and I exchanged glances. After the lawyer left, we searched. We looked in Jake's office, in the garage, in the attic. We found nothing. Then Kyle remembered something. Dad's toolbox. He was always protective of it, never let me touch it. We found the red toolbox in the garage. Inside, under a false bottom, was a USB drive and a letter addressed to me. My hands shook as I opened it. Sarah, if you're reading this, something has gone wrong. I'm so sorry for the mess I've gotten us into. Marcus convinced me to do something terrible, and I've been trying to fix it ever since. The USB drive contains every piece of evidence against Marcus. Bank records, emails, recordings of our conversations. It's enough to put him away for a long time. The money from Richard's account, I moved it back, every penny. It's all returned to where it belongs. I couldn't stand having that stolen money, even if we needed it. I know Marcus will come looking for it. He'll lie. He'll manipulate. He'll say the money exists and that we could split it. Don't believe him. There is no money. I made sure of it. I love you and Kyle more than anything in this world. I'm sorry I wasn't stronger. I'm sorry I let Marcus use me. I'm sorry for all of it. Please tell Kyle I'm proud of him. Tell him to be braver than his father was. Love always, Jake. I read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down my face. Jake had tried to make things right. He'd returned the money and collected evidence against Marcus. He'd been preparing to go to the police to face the consequences of his mistakes. And Marcus had killed him for it. The USB drive was exactly what Jake described. The police took it as additional evidence. Between Kyle's recording and Jake's files, Marcus's lawyer said a trial would be pointless. Marcus agreed to plead guilty to second-degree murder, theft, fraud, and a dozen other charges. On the day of Marcus's sentencing, Kyle and I sat in the courtroom. I'd written a victim impact statement. My hands shook as I read it. Jake Mitchell was a good man who made a mistake. He trusted the wrong person, someone who should have protected him, but instead manipulated and destroyed him. My brother took my husband's weakness and turned it into a weapon. Then when Jake tried to do the right thing, Marcus killed him. I looked directly at Marcus. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Marcus taught me something important. Family isn't about blood. It's about trust, loyalty, and love. Marcus betrayed all of those things. He's not my brother anymore. He's just the man who killed my husband. The judge sentenced Marcus to 25 years in prison. As they led him away, he finally looked at me. Sarah, I'm sorry, he said. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. Kyle and I left the courthouse together. The sun was shining, bright and warm. It felt strange after so many dark days. Mom, Kyle said as we walked to the car. What happens now? We heal, I said. We remember your dad the way he really was. A good man who made mistakes but tried to fix them. We honor his memory by being honest, by being brave, by being better than the people who hurt us. Do you think Dad would be proud of us? I pulled Kyle close. I know he would be. That night, Kyle and I sat in the living room with a photo album full of pictures of Jake. We told stories, cried, and laughed at the memories. The road ahead would be hard. The grief would come in waves. But we had each other. We had the truth. And we had Jake's love, which Marcus could never take away. I'd learned that betrayal comes from the people closest to you, the ones you trust most. But I'd also learned that truth and justice, though painful, are worth fighting for. Kyle had been brave enough to record the truth. Jake had been brave enough to try to make things right. And I had been brave enough to face my own brother and demand justice for my family. We would survive this. We would heal, and we would make sure Jake's death meant something. That was my promise to my husband, to my son, and to myself.